Okay, now let's focus on food labeling regulations of the U.S. You should know this. Okay, the food labeling regulation of the U.S. is under 21 CFR Part 101. I will explain that later. And if you check the website, it's about 220 pages in A4 size. It's really big. It's really big. And the powerful cross reference is the feature of the US regulation. Trust me, uh, I'm very familiar with the Taiwan food regulations. And however, when I carefully study the US that kind of regulation, it's really amazing. It's really amazing. And now let me show you this website. You can download the file, the PDF file of this book, and you can click the hyperlink. CFR is for Code of Federal Regulations. A code is a kind of law. Okay, code is a password, something like that. So code has a lot of meanings. And here 101, 101 is not the college class, the typical, uh, the classical class of a field. For example, food 101 or nutrition 101 or physics 101. Generally, the kind of 101 means typical classical and represents a lot of the field of the essential. And 101 is just a number. One part of 101 is about food labeling. Okay, let me turn it back. There are some sub provisions. 101.9 about new food and nutrition, food labeling of food, and that's the topic of this book. 101.10 nutrition labeling of a restaurant foods whose labels or labeling bearing nutrient content claims or health claims, and 101.11 nutrition labeling for standard menu items in covered establishments. Establishment. This term is for Taiwanese. When we read this term, we got confused. In short words, establishment it means food company, food plant, a plant, a factory. Plant can be a animal or plant, but establishment that is a food factory is a food plant. Sorry, plant. That in a covered establishment, it means that the food factory, the food plant is covered with a ceiling or a building. Subpart C, specific nutrition labeling requirements and guidelines. Thus, we can check point 36, point 42, point 45. And if you are interested about those details, regulations, or guidelines, you can click it. Okay, let me go back to here. Okay, uh, this I switched between two files. This journal I can add my notes. It's called annotation, and the other one is original PDF file. We can use the click the hyperlink and to get the website. Nutrition labeling is 101.9. 101.10 is about nutrition labeling for restaurant food. 101.11 nutrition labeling of standard menu items in a covered establishment. And subpart C about dietary supplement. Dietary supplements in Taiwan we call it health food, healthy food. But in US it's called dietary supplements. Uh, Nutrition labeling for raw fruit, vegetables, and fish. guidelines for the voluntary nutrition labeling for raw fruit, vegetables, and fish. Okay, so we can see that is a lot of information here. I plan to have 2 or 3 weeks to finish this part. I mean the book about this already covered the book. And now let's go back to the nutrition labeling regulations in Taiwan. Nutrition labeling is also important in Taiwan. Despite the language, the nutrition labeling regulation in Taiwan are relatively simple. Relatively simple. Believe me, after I carefully studied the 220 pages of the the U.S. regulation, I found the whole food labeling regulations is really complicated and difficult. And the part of 101.9 about nutrition labeling is difficult too. But in Taiwan, this part is relatively simple and easy. Now let's look at there are only one regulations and two guidelines. Here is a regulations on nutrition labeling for prepacked food product. Prepacked, actually Taiwan food regulations, this term they use European style. And in the main regulation of nutrition labeling in Taiwan, similar to the 21 CFR 101.9 nutrition labeling of food. Okay. And this part of the document is 39 pages in A4 size. But in the US is a letter size. Letter size is a little bit wider, but A4 size is a little bit thinner. And the main regulation consists of three chapters and 4 appendixes, and all provisions are available in Chapter 5. In Taiwan, the Taiwan Food Labeling Regulation, first one, general provisions. The second one, nutrition labeling for infant, little baby, infant formula and follow-up. Infant generally is less than 12 months. The baby was from be burned and grow to 12 months is called infant. When he or she become 1 years old, it called the follow-up. From 1 years old to 2, 3, 4, 5, that's called big baby, big infant. Chapter 3 about nutrition labeling for formula for certain disease, for example, the diabetes, and there are 4 appendix in the regulation. First one, daily caloric and other nutritional intake reference value. The nutrition reference value is important in this book. Conditions for zero labeling. Can I say, okay, if I have a cup of coffee, can I say there's 0 calorie? Maybe yes, maybe no. It depends on the definition. And the zero labeling of caloric and nutrition value. It has no calories, but the definition is defined in Appendix 2. If I, for example, if I have a cup of cola, Pepsi or Coca-Cola, and they use the sweetener instead of sugar, if no sugar inside, it can be called 0 calorie, and they can be labeled on the package. Appendix 3, range of allowance error. Allowance, let me wipe it. Allowable error, because how can I say this? There are some errors. Errors is not a mistake. Errors is in Taiwan we call it errors. It's not a mistake. Remember, for example, if my pen should be 10.2 grams, but when I put it on a balance, the reading should maybe 10.5 grams, maybe 9.8 grams, but the God, the Buddha, knows that is 10.2 grams. So 10.5 or 9.8, that is an error. The measurement, the difference between the real value and the measured value is called error. It's called, so here error is not the mistake. Just remember the error for nutrient labeling values. When I was several years ago, a senior colleague told me a story. A farmer grows a lot of orange trees, and he or she produces a lot of orange. There is a question: if the same farm, different area, or the same tree, different orange, does the orange 1 gram of the juice has the same value of vitamin C? Does the tree produces a lot of the tree group has a lot of oranges? Does each orange has the same vitamin C, calcium, or vitamin B? Is impossible. First, the situation, for example, the sunshine, the illumination on the fruit is different, and there are many different factors will affect the nutrition in the orange. Thus, we allow suitable error on the labeling. Just remember this. And Appendix 4, the range of allowable error for nutrition labeling value for infant formula and follow-up infant formula. Okay, so this part will be chapter 5. I will discuss that later, and here are some similar regulations. For example, regulation on labeling, nutrition labeling for pre-packed vitamin and mineral tablets and capsules. Regulation on pre-packed food product exempt. You don't need to do that. Exempt from the nutrition labeling, small business nutrition labeling exemption guide. Okay, and here regulation on nutrition labeling for prepared infant and follow-up infant for certain disease like this, and there are some guidelines like this. Okay, if you are interested about the nutrition labeling regulation in the the European Union, you can check this. Okay, I think I should stop here, and I will assign some readings. Then you can watch the video and do some homework. Okay, I think I should stop here.